Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
This is unbelievable. I'd say, wow, we've come a long way. Now, Jim did say that in addition to hosting this, that he did recognize that we were going to have to change the name of the organization, that we would now be the CEO Semi-Roundtable.
Semi-Roundtable.
Cancer. But I think I would just start by thanking Jim Goodnight for hosting us this morning, and I'd also like to congratulate him on a fabulous building. You know, a lot of us have done a lot of things on building buildings, and this one is just unbelievable in terms of technology, communication, and really shows what a modern company SAS really is. I couldn't be happier sitting here between two of my closest friends, and it's great to see some of the photos of what we've been able to do. I would just maybe start by a message from our sponsor, if I could put it that way, and that is none other than the former President George H.W. Bush, who really is the founder of this organization. And I'll just quote from the letter that I think all of you have in a copy. But he says, "The full strength of the CEO Roundtable derives from a team of dedicated leaders like you who understand that only by working together can bold and venturesome progress be made. It is because of you that the CEO Roundtable on Cancer is able to confront cancer in a unique and powerful way. The impact of our CEO Cancer Gold Standard is felt by millions of employees and family members, and lives are truly being changed, lengthened, and saved. We also are proud of our second task force, the Life Sciences Consortium, which is successfully confronting complex and critical issues. The work you're doing is vital. Your commitment builds a legacy of hope through which others may live, and live more abundantly. Barbara and I thank you, and we salute you. Keep up the great work." Thank you for that message.
That's great.
All right, just before we start, we have been strengthened by two new members. The first is American Century Investments, whose CEO is Jonathan Thomas, and as Marty said last night, was at the last minute unable to join us. And the second is a company very dedicated to health, which is Livestrong, represented by their Vice President, Andy Miller. So Andy, where are they?
Right here.
Andy, congratulations and welcome. So, you know, we did a lot of introduction last night. I won't talk for a long time on that because I think we covered where we've been, where we want to go. I would just say a couple of additional comments. The first really is that I want to come back to this notion that I think the CEO Roundtable is actually also providing a model for other diseases. It really is powerful when you start explaining the CEO Roundtable concept to people around the world. There is a sense sometimes in healthcare of helplessness, that the system is just too complex to change, and it doesn't really matter whether you live in the US or you live in Europe or you're one of the new growing economies which are trying to figure out what kinds of health systems to develop. No matter what the legislation is, no matter what all the bureaucracy is, I think we've been able to, in a lot of ways, bring together different players within the healthcare sphere and get a number of things done and really focus on health and not so much on the sick care. Our healthcare systems are principally around treatment of disease, and that's right, but unless we actually reinforce preventive measures, we're not going to be able to either get better outcomes nor balance the books economically. We live in difficult economic times in the West. We have structural deficits both in Social Security here and in Europe. You know, when Medicare and Medicaid were introduced in the mid-'60s, there were 43 people working for every person who was retired. Today, there are 3. Today, chronic disease, and you could argue that to a degree, cancer now is, thanks to a lot of the innovation that has occurred in cancer, can be considered as a chronic disease, and that's certainly our goal, at least to get that and then to eradicate it. That represents 75% of the spend of healthcare dollars. So it's very clear that if we can prevent diseases, we can actually start to have a meaningful impact on a big chunk of the healthcare budget, which then will free up resources to make sure that the latest innovations really are able to be accessible by patients. We had a good executive committee yesterday, and I think there are just maybe two things that I would add to what we talked about yesterday. The first is I think we had a desire to continue to make sure that we keep the gold standard fresh, that it continues to provide true value to the companies and organizations that have endorsed that. And so with Marty's help, we're looking at what else we can do to make sure that cancer patients can benefit from the gold standard. And so I think in future meetings, we'd like to come back and talk about that for you. The other is clearly, of course, in the Life Sciences Consortium. And I think that this is really a powerful group that we can really leverage. Here again, I think if companies and organizations come together in a collaborative way, then we can probably move the ball down the field a lot faster on oncology research. And ultimately, we know that as much as has been done, there's still an awful lot of need for new treatments. And I talked about a patient who suffered from pancreatic cancer. We all have examples of people we have lost all too soon as a result of cancer, and we need a new hope for that. One of the interesting things is that the CEO roundtable model is attracting attention from others. Later, we're going to be able to hear from Liz Fowler. Liz is the White House Special Assistant to the President on Healthcare and Economic Policy. Liz was originally scheduled to be with us in person. There have been a few events in politics in Washington, you may have seen in the press this morning, that have meant that she has had to stay at the White House. She will, however, be dialing in and joining us by phone at 11:45. I think that's important because, first of all, for our mission, we also need the support of the administration. And the second is that I think it's extremely important for the administration to have an understanding about what it is we're trying to do in terms of broader public health implications. So, and she has been extremely interested in what we've been doing. A number of us had a number of meetings with her, and so I'm personally extremely encouraged by her personal interest in what we're doing. And I think nobody will be able to say that better than Liz herself. So I think I'm not going to go on for much longer because I think we're going to hear where we're going with the gold standards. We have reports on that. We're going to hear from the Life Sciences Consortium and what progress we're making. But at this point, I would propose to turn this over to our, well, he's Chief Executive Officer, but really so much more because really without Marty, I don't think any of this would be able to come together. I have to say that on a personal level, that anything to do with cancer, Marty is just everywhere, knows everyone, and is able to bring people together in an extraordinary way. And I think what you bring to the CEO roundtable, what we've been able to achieve, Marty, is absolutely fabulous. So if I could pass this over to you now in terms of your report.